short, and then Sister Louise is going to speak for the rest of the morning. The idea to change the time of the renewal emerged around Easter last year when we were starting to look at the calendar for this year. And part of it came out of a sense that we've been repeating ourselves and we're in a rut. We weren't moving deeper, we were just spinning around in the same place. And part of it also came out of the homilies that Father was preaching, the things that he was putting in the bulletin, about all the things he just talked about this morning. This has been a theme and kind of struck us in a new way. And we said, gee, that's Lent and Easter, isn't it? Evaluating where we are in our relationships with others and with God, and recommitting ourselves, that's Lent and Easter. And so that's when we decided to make this shift to the springtime instead of the fall. Well, to the winter into spring instead of the fall. We moved away from the liturgical year on one hand, but really deeply into the liturgical season on another hand. And in thinking about what the theme would be, we were thinking about the same thing. Our sense of a feeling of sameness, a feeling a little bit stuck, and a desire to have our Lenten observance and our really living Lent take us deeper and move us toward the enthusiasm of Easter. And as Father said, Easter starts with the fire. So I just want to spend a few minutes talking about fire. He was like a fire. And I want to unpack this image of fire a little bit and start with some of the things that fire does. Okay? So fire gives us light, right? Gives us, what we already said, heat, warmth. Cooks our food. Those are burgers. Gives us energy. Fuel lifts us up. Gives us direction. This is another trigger one. It can be a sign of our unity. Brings us together.
Please describe what that was.
Pardon?
What was that?
I'm thinking it's the Olympic flame. I decided when I looked at it, I think that's the Olympic flame. If it's not, well, we're going to pretend that. Because that's all we're going to do. Fire is a symbol of gathering and home. Home, right? So here's the word. Destruction. Pretty cool, yeah. Fire refines, transformation in a very particular way. Fire refines something that looks like this, so it can be something that looks like this. Fire changes the shape of things. I thought of this, my dad worked in a steel mill for most of my life. I knew what an oven heart looked like from the photos. It changes, you need heat to change the shape of things. What else does fire do? It destroys things. And it brings new life. Do you know that there are certain trees that need the intense heat of a forest fire for them to shoot their seeds out, and then the new growth begins. It's not pretty, but it's new life. I think the most interesting thing about fire, though, is that it turns the things it touches into itself. If you think of a candle, I decided not to do it because I'd be too scared. But if you think of a candle and you hold a piece of paper over the candle, the paper turns to fire. So it's contagious. And all of these things can be said about what God does in us, a lot of the things Father just said in the last few minutes, and what our faith does for us. It gives us light and warmth and comfort and energy and sustenance, and it lifts us up, and it can refine and redeem us. It brings us together, why we're here today. For many of us, this is the only place we feel at home. Our faith helps us to be challenged and refined and purified so that we can be transformed and become holy. We can become saints. That process requires that something dies, so there's a destruction, but that's to allow and to bring forth new life in us. Our faith is a living, moving, active energy, God working in us and through us. We're trying to link into that, remember that, because it's something we know up here, but what does that look like in our lives? What do we do about that? Well, it's so funny, when we were, not so funny, when we were first talking about this theme was when the fires in Coatesville were really coming into the news, and I remember thinking, it's a bad choice. Maybe it's bringing up a horrible thing, because those are terrible. This community's really been terrorized. But at the same time, as you read the stories, the community came together. And if you read about Coatesville before that, Coatesville was a pretty dysfunctional borough. This dysfunctional borough has come together in many ways because of this challenge from within. Because of this disruption, there is in many ways a potential for a real new life in that community. So, we decided to go with it. Because I think, in fact, it really proves our point instead of challenging it. So we're called to be saints, as Father said. We're called to learn to love the way that God loves, generously, without end, without holding anything back, without withholding forgiveness. And it's our faith and our being in touch with and cooperating with it that allows us to become like God. God touches us and invites us to become like Him. But like a fire, so this fire is very powerful and our faith is very powerful. But it's also very vulnerable. Because this match, you can't try to light, when we have our Easter fire, we have friction and we also have interference with the wind is blowing. We have work to do. We have to have fuel and we have to have protection, a safe place for the fire to grow. Same thing in our faith life. Because when we have our faith, just my little candle, my little match, and we come together, we can change the world.